Hi, everyone. It's Dan and Angela Clark with Heart to Heart.
Hey, everybody.
Well, it's that season, that time of year when, I think it's all about the heart. And we've been taught, of course, as being Jehovah's Witnesses and me, Worldwide Church of God, that different things that go on in this season are not right. They're not appropriate. They're full of wrong, right? But and that's important. And we also have to deal with a lot of emotions. And that's kind of what this talk tonight is about. I'm going to kind of go into some things that have to do with dealing with relationships, which is actually in my book, Awakening from Unconscious Resentment by Angela Clark. It's chapter 4. It's called Blood Boiling, because at this time in my life that I was going through was very, very hard. And literally my blood was boiling. And I remember thinking, I feel like my blood inside of my body is boiling. And why was that? It's because I was so full of rage and anger about my situation, about my can't control the relationships that are going on in my life. And I can't control me. I can't make myself do what it is that they're asking me to do, which actually didn't agree with me, but I didn't know that at the time. I was very unconscious, very much in denial about everything that was happening to me. So that's kind of what this is all about, because we do have to deal with these relationships during this time of year, whether we like it or not. And for all of us, there's going to be something different going on. Some of you are going to be scared of Christmas still and trying to come to terms with whether it's okay that I even look at those lights that are in this picture right here and enjoy it and be okay with it. Or are you going to do like what I had to do when I was a kid? I drive by in the back of our station wagon. Back in that day, you didn't have seatbelts, so we had laid down, and my dad's driving by, and we're looking at all the beautiful life as we're laying there, all 6 kids of us, and we're like, "Oh, that's so beautiful! Wow!" My dad would be saying in the front seat, "Abomination! Dude, that's abomination, sin."
We never had to say that.
I know. As Jehovah's Witnesses, I know you guys just knew that it was not of God. Is that about right?
Yeah. We would just look at them and think they're beautiful. My dad would even go out and look at them. But we wouldn't tell anybody.
That's funny. That's funny. But
we still get hassled, like your mother.
Yeah.
We get hassled at Christmas. There honestly, in other religions, there's a meaning for every type of thing out there. Every bulb, every color has a meaning. If it's a red bulb, somebody died. Her mother, when she talks about these things, she talks about Santa in the red suit.
Oh man.
It means people killed.
Oh, yeah.
It's like she sends us letter after letter.
Yeah.
But then right after, she'll send us Hanukkah stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we do Hanukkah, and that's according to the Bible. And I'm like, oh,
right.
Yeah,
It's not even something worldwide. It's just something that she kind of came up with on the side from kind of going into some Jewish, Masonic Jewish stuff. But anyway, so dealing with the emotions, this is what I want to talk about. So again, the energy that we experience in our bodies matters. And that's what I want to talk about tonight, because this is really serious. Because if we want to keep on having the same kind of crapola going on in our life, then we just keep on doing everything the same way that we're doing right now, which is called insanity. That's the definition of insanity. So we don't want that. So we've got to change things up, guys. And that's what I'm doing. Okay, that's what I'm learning how to do. Today was a really, really difficult day for me. A lot of disappointments. And all day long, I'm having to check my emotions. I'm having to put it back into check. And oh my gosh, it's not been a fun, it's been up and down around like a roller coaster for me today. I think I was at in Disneyland or something.
Glad I wasn't on the ride with you.
Me too. Dan has a whole different set of things to do. He had his own roller coaster, right?
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, on page 78 in my book that I just showed you, I talk about this guy named Baron Eugene Fersen. He wrote a little book that was published in 1923, and it was called Science of Being. So he discovered some spiritual tenets that are standard in this world. And so he's discovered that everything is energy, and everything vibrates, and nothing is at rest. So just back things up a little bit. Dan and I one time went to this conference with this guy named Greg Braden. He's a well-known scientist. He had us all do some experimentations while he did some meter reading. It was very accurate, very exciting too. But we were to hold hands, and we were to think about some really, really wonderful moments, some positive feelings of good moments of love or whatever that we could come up with. And we're all to hold hands in the group. There's about 600 of us. And then he measured on the meter, what happened in the energy and the vibration and the magnetism in the room. And it went sky high. It was so exciting because we had produced that together.
They can measure the love frequency.
Yes. And so guess what? You can also measure the hate energy, the angry energy, and that kind of thing. So this is what's crazy, but vibrations of the same frequency resonate with each other. So energy attracts the same type of energy to itself, they've discovered. So what could that mean in our relationships? It means that we're attracting what we're putting out is attracting the same kind of thing back to our lives, the same kind of people, the same kind of problems, not exactly, but the same kind of like. Like attracts like. Crazy. So I wanted to give you an example of how that happened to me one time. So when I was going through that really hard time, when my blood was boiling, I remember spilling everything, dropping everything, hammer on my hand when I'm doing something, locking my keys in the house. You know, do you smell that? You think everything's okay then?
Yeah.
So we're cooking something. Anyway, everything just was going wrong, spilling the whole crock pot of stew in the trunk of my car on my way to the job site. Everything that could go wrong just seemed to be going wrong. And all of a sudden it hit me. I'm attracting this. Somehow I'm attracting this because of my negative energy. And I literally felt people just did this with me. They'd see me and they'd kind of step back like this. They go, like as if bad emotions.
Like you slimed me or something.
Yeah. Yeah. My sister even said that I slimed her. And
but so, it's just negative energy. It doesn't matter if you see a person angry, you know, you go, oh, I'm going to stay away from him. You know, he's scowling and he's prone to do things. He's prone to like you say, close the door on your hand. Yeah. And he's going to be even madder, you know.
Yes.
You know.
And unfortunately too, it's going to attract them to. Okay, so I'm going to give you another example. This will prove what I'm saying. And when I was in junior high school, I had this girlfriend. Her name was Tammy. And they were calling me Ewart, Warthead, and Wartmobile because my last name was Ewart. And so I cried, you know, I'm in 7th grade and I'm crying. And every day they would do this. They were just having so much fun messing with me. And so my girlfriend says, Angela, why don't you just ignore them and they'll quit? I'm like, really? That's all I got to do. Just ignore them. She says, yeah, just try it. So next day I did. I did exactly that. And you know what? Oh my gosh. She said, just laugh, just listen, act like you don't even care. So I did. And you know what? Next day, they didn't do it again. They never did it again. They only
want to do it if they get the charge.
Right.
We had a girl in our neighborhood. Her name was Carrie. And we used to call her Cooser Dahmer Babe, a hustle swanna, special woman specio. And she'd run in the house crying. And, you know, Jeff, Cooser Dahmer Babe, a hustle swanna, special woman specio. You know, and she'd cry and run into her mom. And I'd run in the house and throw a handful of gravel and run home. And you know what I mean? Her neighbor would call my mom, Dan just threw gravel in my house.
So kind of stuff that goes on in Detroit, Michigan when Dan was growing up. Anyway,
but she got over it. She learned to stop letting it bother her. She'd just go, oh, you guys, you know, and we couldn't do it anymore.
Oh, wow. That's crazy, Dan. Just crazy. Yeah, I can see us in the screen. You see our little screen inside of our screen.
Oh.
So anyway, so Pearson says that man creates his own heaven and his own hell because when you concentrate on a certain thought or idea, it attracts a vibrational match and brings the same energy back to you, only greater. So, I like that. So, you know, what I want in my life, I want to imagine it. I want to think about it. I want to think, you know, my thoughts. But they've come up with science now that says that our thoughts are actually creating. And this vibrational thing that they see that like attracts like, and it resonates together. So literally what we're wanting, we're kind of attracting just by our thoughts. So if you're wanting a good mate, if you're not wanting to have abuse going on from your mother or your parents because of you having left the Jehovah's Witnesses, for me, the Worldwide Church of God, we're going to keep attracting the same kind of stuff in our lives, even if it's not in our family. Like, for example, I moved here to this neighborhood in a whole nother state. And what did I attract? I attracted these neighbors that are like my mother. I kid you not. I thought I was going to say, yay, I'm going to get out of the abuse from my mom about the holidays and about the different things that she, you know, is not happy about with because I don't keep the holy days and I don't. You're not good enough. And so, no, I have it all over again because I'm used to hanging out in that kind of vibration and that way of thinking. And so I've had to learn how to overcome these people so that I'm not feeling this way anymore. And they're not doing that to me. But I had to realize, oh my gosh, okay, so I didn't get away from anything. I have got to overcome this and not allow the same patternings by my own thinking and what I allow. But that's where the codependency part comes in, okay? So on page 79 of the same book, so that was page 78. It's so we're creating our states in our thoughts by the corresponding vibrations that they're producing. So in Codependent No More by Melody Beatty, I talk a bit about her in my book because my book's about unconscious resentment. It's a lot about codependency and the traits of codependent people. So one of the definitions, it's a person who lets another person's behavior affect them. Okay. And so you're wanting to fix that person. You're wanting them to stop doing something. You're trying to control what they are doing. Like for us, we don't want them to keep on abusing us about Christmas or, I don't know, whatever it is you're dealing with the family that, or work people or your neighbors. I don't know what it is for you, but you don't want that anymore, right? You don't want that. But you're obsessed with trying to control the situation. And that's what codependent people do. They do lots of crazy, amazing things. But the truth is that we're trying to fix our parents, our friends, our mates, our relatives to see it like we see it, to do it like we do it, whatever it is we're trying to do. When the fact of the matter is what we really need to be doing is focusing on number one and controlling us. So we can't change other people. We can't control them, but we can control how we feel about it. We can control our own emotions about the situation. But if we react with anger or resentment or rage to the point where we're boiling inside, we're not only going to be causing more light to come to us from other people and other situations, but we're also going to be, what was I just going to say? I lost my thought. We're going to be attracting the same thing.
Yeah, so we can't control ourselves.
Yeah, we can't control ourselves.
It's like saying, I'm going to control my Jehovah's Witnesses parents after I left and make them accept me. You're not going to do it. And Angela's not going to do it with her mother and say, let me explain why I do what I do now. Let me explain why I do this. So you got to learn not to care. You got to learn to separate.
You really, really do. And not only that, but what you have to do is you have to begin to detach from what they think of you. Okay, so that's one of the codependent traits is worrying about what other people think of you. And very much worried about that. So when you detach, so literally what you're doing is this: you're going to think about what's going to happen before you go to that neighbor, or before they come to you and give you a gift, or before you have to deal with your brother who's not sure what to think about what's going on. You think about what you're going to do, and you're going to think about their reaction to you, what maybe they're going to say. And then you want to think about how you're going to react ahead of time. See, that's what we are not doing when we were raised, both your church and mine, to think about ahead of time.
Yeah, it's called being proactive instead of reactive.
Right.
Reactive is they say something and then you react, because you're not ready. But proactive, you've actually thought it out.
Right. So you're going to think about what you're going to say, how you're going to feel, and you literally going to imagine yourself before you even go there, putting up kind of a wall. It's invisible, okay? But it's a wall of protection where you're going to say, I'm not going to let that emotional impact of those words that I think they're going to say to me. I'm not going to let that into this space and really affect my emotions, because then you start crying and you're emotionally engaged in your body, and your body is then becoming weak and sick, and more rage and more anger is building up and more resentment. Just what you don't want, because then that's going to attract more people that are like that. You don't want that. So we're literally having to retrain our brain. What do you call that? Neuro-linguistic training. Bruce Lipton, right? NLP. We're literally having to train our brain to not react in the same way, to choose not to react in the same way, to choose to be strong about it and to say, I know they're going to react that way, and it's okay. You're allowed to. I can't control that, but I can control me. And how I feel about it is different than how they feel about it. But I'm not going to let that affect me. That's okay. That's their business, and it's not my business. And that's where this is where I'm at. I've got to be okay with where I'm at, and I'm gonna be okay with where they're at. I can't change that. So guys, because of choices that I made and my way of looking at things, I realized, oh my gosh, the last thing that happened in my relationship was with not Dan, but a previous marriage, 24 years, is, oh my gosh, I'm in a cult, I realized. So I spoke of it out loud. I spoke and I said, no, no more of this. No, this is wrong. I can't do this anymore. And I was immediately ostracized, rejected, and I was out. And I didn't expect that. I really didn't. I thought my kids would just get it and they would realize the situation, but no, this, truth be told, I didn't realize it, but I was in denial. That's one of the codependent traits of what was really happening. And I was becoming rageful and angry and resentful, again, in denial, not understanding what was happening. But the truth is that what happened was I was not expecting it. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't. But you can control how you feel about it. And I just want to encourage you to do that, because, you don't have to be obsessively controlling people. This is what codependents are like. They're caretakers trying to fix everybody, control everybody. You're in everybody else's business, but you're not focused on your own.
Yeah, you're just in your head all day.
Yep.
And it's no fun.
No.
It's no fun. Always trying to figure out, how can I make this person like me, or how can I make this person accept me? How can I, and they may not.
No, they may not.
Like the witnesses, when we left, that's it. They're done.
So when we do allow this dysfunction to go on in these relationships, what will happen is, if we don't get a handle on it, is we get discouraged, we get depressed, we get low self-esteem, because we're allowing what they're saying to us and thinking about us to bother us. And it just continues to lower our self-esteem and our feelings about ourselves, until we're literally full of anger, rage, guilt, shame. It can get really, really bad. Self-hating ourselves because we're not enough, we're not doing enough. This is all codependent behavior. We tend to, Melody Beatty says, we tend to attract people that are peculiar people, who have a peculiar dependency, as well as an attraction to and a tolerance for the bizarre. We're attracted to these kind of people. Imagine it. So we went from crazy dysfunction in our cults to being, unfortunately, attracted to the same sort of thing when we get out. So that's why this is so important. We've got to begin to get a handle on getting a different world, a different way of living, a different people to hang out with. But that doesn't happen until we change what's going on up here. And so we also tend to be other centered. It's their problem. I don't know. It's never about what we've got to change, what we've got to take responsibility for in our own lives, and get things turned around so that we can live a happy life, and one that we are wanting to live, instead of letting life drag us around where we don't want to go, and having the same kind of situations wherever we go. We also tend to have the codependents, they have communication problems. Well, what cult people do not have communication problems? Oh my gosh, is that ever a big fat problem? Oh, I can say a lot about that. I've had to really, really learn and do a lot of praying about God helping me with my communication skills.
Oh yeah. All of us.
And there's good books out there about how to communicate that are really good. But anyway, that we have intimacy problems a lot. An ongoing whirlwind trip through the 5-stage grief process. Interesting, because a lot of people get stuck in the grieving process. So when you leave a cult, you go through a grieving process. And there's these different steps to it. First, it's denial. And then you finally, you go through bargaining, and then you finally go through acceptance. And there's these stages. But we can stay in the grieving part of it for a really long time because we don't choose to let things go. So that's another thing we have to learn how to do, is learn how to let go, not control, detach, not try to make things how we want them to be. We have to be okay with just what is. So, so do you recognize any of these behaviors in yourself? So probably something, right? So this lady, Darlene Lancer, JD, MFT, I don't know what those initials stand for the life of me, but she wrote an article in 2018. And she says that when we don't do what we want, or when we do something we don't want to do because we feel like we have to, we feel angry, victimized, unappreciated, uncared for, powerless, and unable to be agents of change for ourselves, for our own lives. Although repressed and often unconscious, codependents have a huge amount of anger and pent-up emotion, and often have no idea how to manage it. So interesting. We have to learn how to say no, which is interesting because, a lot of times when people want us to do something that we don't want to do. Like, let's just say that you're not sure what to think about Christmas. And so you decide that, I'm not going to go to that party. I'm just not going to do it. But then you're given a really hard time by everybody. But if you do what they want you to do when you don't want to do it, you feel victimized and you feel resentful and pent up with rage. I remember I was working at an office. I didn't keep Christmas at this time. And the manager of our office came and said, Angela, it's your job as a receptionist to put up the Christmas tree. Why haven't you put it up? And I'm like, well, first of all, I didn't know I was supposed to. And number two is I don't celebrate Christmas. Well, that's too bad. It's your job and you have to do it. I didn't know what to do. I was like, I don't have no idea how to do such a thing. I would have no idea how to do it. None whatsoever. So these two ladies pitched in and helped me, but I was resentful that I had to even touch those bulbs. I really was. I was fuming mad at them. No, that was not okay. That was disrespectful of my belief system, and that was not okay. Anyway, he said I would be fired if I didn't do it, but you know what? I probably should have said, too bad, I'm not doing it. How could you do this? I could have probably sued him. These are lawyers too. You should have known that. Oh God, that's crazy. But you guys, but as adults, we lose all awareness that we're hurt and why we're hurt. Do you believe that? As adults, we become unaware that we're hurt. Feeling hurt and sad is too humiliating for most people. So unconsciously, we turn these hurts and resentments into anger and hostility instead. And true to the teachings of Dr. David R. Hawkins, which I talk about in my book, and Baron Eugene Ferguson, we just talked about, and scientist Greg Braden, that resentment sends out hostile, angry vibrations that attracts the same vibrations from others, as we said. As resentment progresses through its stages from resentment to outright meltdown, like a volcano erupting. So I want to talk about that for a minute. When we don't get a handle on these emotions, they just build and build and build. It's kind of like you're born. Let's say you're born and you're at the bottom of the big fat part of the triangle. Everything's great. You don't know anything's wrong. And then things start happening. Mom, dad got divorced. And then so-and-so abuses so-and-so. And then another bad thing happens and you get married to an abusive woman. And then you join a cult. And then you get kicked out of that cult and it just keeps going up and up and up and up. And then your wife leaves you and blah, blah, blah. This is kind of thing. Well, guess what? If you've not been able to work through this, think through this, process through this, learn how to manage it, learn how to stay in your own body and don't caretake everybody else, try to fix everybody else, control everyone else. If you haven't been doing that work, say no where you need to, and all of that, guess what? You're going to be exploding like a volcano out the top. Duh, right? Duh. And so should you be so mad at yourself? I say no, but realize that you've got to get a handle on that volcano. You got to get it down and get those emotions processed daily. Really, we all have to, but we didn't learn how to do that, did we? We did not learn how to do that in school, church, or our cults. Not any of it. That's crazy. I don't believe it. So anyway, in my relationship, I became a victim because I was in denial about all these things that were happening, and I didn't face these things. And so my ex-husband, he was, causing these troubles. I denied myself the release of confronting my ex-husband and the woman who was having an affair with. I was unconsciously in denial, becoming the victim, not acknowledging my feelings. When we do this, we live on an autopilot of this denial process going on. All of this is unconscious, meaning that you don't know that it's going on in the background. You don't know that it's going on in your mind, and it just runs you. And you're in a rage. I honestly did not know that I was in a rage or knew I was even mad at, but my energy was spelling it out. And these accidents were proof that something was really wrong. And I realized, oh my God, it's my blood boiling. I'm raging. Mainly I was raging at myself because I wasn't able to live up to what they wanted. So our families probably reacted this way. And we've internalized their methods and their automatic reaction to the pain and unconscious resentment that fills us with rage and self-hatred. This is consistent with one of the other aspects of codependency. So codependents live in a perpetual denial. They have dysfunctional communication skills, as we said, contributing to the anger and resentment in themselves and others. And again, they agree to do things they don't want to do. They're afraid to rock the family boat by speaking their truths, like saying no more, and this thing, or I'm not doing this, or whatever. We don't want to rock the family boat because we're afraid what's going to happen. And they might kick us out. They might deny it. They might reject us. So we don't want to do that. So we won't make those steps. But guess what? If you don't, you're going to get sick because your body can't take that much rage and resentment and volcanic activity inside of it. Right?
That's
Dan?
right. Oh yeah.
Right? So we've got to try. So codependents, they try to control people in the ways that they do, they have no business doing, trying to change others rather than letting go. We have to learn to let go. And codependents, they stay in relationships, even when those relationships are abusive, full of broken promises and disappointments, or churches or religions, being chock full of anger, again, often at self, of not being enough, always stuffing it down, creating a buildup on the inside like the volcano, which will one day explode, as we said. So if we want to begin getting into a different place in our lives, we're going to have to watch our emotions and our feelings because they create energy and a vibration that is scientifically proven. When we vibrate, we attract light to ourselves. So we must watch and do our best to turn our negative emotions around to positive in every situation and area of life. And then we can turn things around in our world, our relationships, and those who we are attracted to, and those who are attracted to us. We're going to get a better mate, a better everything in life. When we think thoughts, they're creating, actually. We are creating something exactly what we don't want just by our thoughts. And the Bible says to think about everything that is honorable, right, pure, praiseworthy, and all the excellent, this is a different translation. I'm like, oh, why did I copy this one? Anyway, full of patience, all these things, to think on these things that are good and right and pure and holy and praiseworthy. Think on these things. And then Paul said, rejoice. And again, I say rejoice. And then in all things, give thanks. That's in the Bible. So if we do that, our lives are going to be different. And anyway, if we give thanks and choose not to buy into the negative emotional patterns we've witnessed perhaps our whole life, and simply raise our own frequency of energy and vibration into the positive feeling tones and emotions, we will magnetize to ourselves a different matching vibration and energy, meaning that we'll be attracted to entirely different people to hang around. Cool.
Wow.
If we don't react when we're cut down at Christmas or family gatherings, and we stay detached and refuse to give the devil a foothold and obey God and choose to rejoice and praise and give thanks, we'll raise our frequency and be filled with attributes of God, no doubt. And since the person who normally enjoys giving us a hard time, since we chose to detach and not respond with anger and resentful emotions, those kind of responses, they will not enjoy doing it so much next time because it just didn't work. And they didn't get a rise out of us. The devil has lost. Keep it up, and this will be permanent. The same people, though, will no longer wish to hang out with you, and be prepared for that. They may even choose to reject you entirely. Be ready for that, too. It's all up to you, though. You can't control them, but you can control how you react to them, and that is in your control. So, I have spelled out some important stuff. It's important to me because I'm trying to live this. Today, I had a really hard time. Some days I do really good now. But today was a little bit more rough for me. A lot of things went crazy.
And it helps if you understand this, because I don't have to get so involved in your being down, right? I have to kind of remain up, like realizing you're just having a bad day and it's bad, and the same with me, when I go down and think I didn't do nothing today, I didn't get enough done or whatever. And I'm like, man, I just, don't feel good. You may be up. That's why sometimes two's better than one.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, but the fact that we understand this, how some of this works, we can be detached.
Absolutely.
I can't afford to get into, if you're down and I join you, then we both sink.
Right.
So,
exactly.
One of us staying afloat, is
it's
good.
really important. Or just pulling each other up, reminding each other to detach from these situations. And let go, and don't try to control it. We don't have to control them. I don't have to control my mom, what she thinks about, how she
explain it away, and
and you don't either. You can just detach, and you guys, it feels a lot better.
And that may be an early thing to do in the beginning, just detach. Like I had to just get away from my parents. I said they're too toxic, they're too messed up. I just got to get away.
Yeah.
And it was okay. But you know, there's the next step, and you may want to do another video on it, getting your voice.
Yeah.
Because there's
Yeah.
a time where you have to set some boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and say, don't do that. You know, don't send me
Yeah.
no more emails with Santa
Yeah.
on them. You know, and you know, your propaganda. You know about your religion and your Hanukkah. And you know what I mean?
Right. Right. Yeah. It can be just very subtly abusive, but interesting. That causes kind of a rage, right?
Yep.
And who wants it? I don't need that in my life. So,
Mm-mm.
somehow best just to kind of keep that relationship very much. I don't know. I just have to curtail it. Unfortunately, I really wish I didn't have to, but it's just too much drama, too much toxicity. Like they say, it's toxic,
Yeah.
and you don't need that in your life, and that's not fun. But we can talk about that another time.
Yeah.
So hopefully this wasn't too long.
No, I think it was good.
Okay, good. All right. So you guys, thank you for listening. We hope you have a really great holiday season, that you're able to enjoy the beautiful lights. And I'm going to have a little fireside sing along coming up on December the 14th at 6:30 on my YouTube channel. No, wait, Life After Religion YouTube channel, and my Angela's Inspirations Facebook page. We're going to do both. We're recorded on both, so you can listen on one or the other. But I'm going to do some really great songs, and we're going to have a visit from Santa Claus.
Oh man, wow.
So it should be a lot of fun. And we'll have a roaring fireplace and some great fun.
Yes.
Some great laughs. It should be great. All right. In fact, I bet you Santa will even let me sit on his lap.
Uh-oh.
How fun. Okay. Well, anyway, over and out. And I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season and try to enjoy it, even if you haven't up to this point, but hopefully you will. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Sounds good. We love you
Over
guys.
and out.
All right. Bye-bye.
Happy holidays. Wasn't prepared.